Welcome back to the Barrel Talk Podcast. We are back with another episode. In this episode, about a month out from the NFL season, it's time to talk about what teams have the most pressure on them going into the year. Got a handful of teams right here on my notes of kind of just like the noteworthy teams of the NFL, kind of the biggest stories going into the season. Let's just talk about 1 out of 10, which teams I think have the most pressure on them. Starting out with the Cincinnati Bengals, right? Going into the year, upgraded defense. At some point, we got to let the pass run to the Super Bowl go. I think it's the only successful thing this team has done in a handful of seasons due to injury, due to bad defensive play. To me, going into the season, the Bengals are 9 out of 10 on my pressure meter. 9 out of 10. This is a team that, yes, did upgrade the defense, but it's also coming down to Joe Burrow got to stay healthy. Has to stay healthy. Him, T. Higgins, Ja'Marr Chase has kind of been the most consistent, healthy one out of the three for the past handful of seasons. But adding Dexter Lawrence to the defense, I think, is going to go a long way, and they just improved the defense as a whole to where I'm like, a lot of pressure on this team. Zach Taylor, I think, is on the hot seat. Cannot start out the season going like a smooth 2-4 and then hoping to get hot throughout the back half of the season. Cannot afford to do that. Joe Burrow has to stay healthy. I know Joe Burrow is a great quarterback in this league, elite level quarterback in this league. Got to stay healthy. Hasn't done anything notably worth anything since going to the Super Bowl that year. That's in the past. That's done years ago. Years ago. It's time to get back to the playoffs. It's time for another playoff run. Too much talent offensively. Now you have a good enough defensive unit to kind of be middle of the pack in the league to where I'm like, now your defense is better. Now it's time for this elite level offense to be your calling card to take you back to the playoffs. For me, the Bengals going into the season, I have them at a 9 out of 10 on the pressure meter for me. Next team, same division, Baltimore Ravens. I think they're 10 out of 10 on the pressure meter. 10 out of 10. Baltimore, it's been time. Been time. Looking at the peers, rank Lamar Jackson, falling off a cliff. Lamar Jackson has his fair share of injuries as well. But this team has been talented enough to go to the Super Bowl. Been on both sides of the ball. Yeah, do they have the top 5, top 10 receiver? No, but Zay Flowers is no bum. Zay Flowers has been having elite level years. Been good enough to proven to be your number one receiver. You're a run-heavy team anyways. Bringing in Derrick Henry with Lamar Jackson. The talent has been there offensively. Defensively, star-studded. Have talent all over the defense. At some point, they got to get over the hump. At some point. Got Jesse Minter in the building. Interested to see how that goes. Him as a defensive-minded guy, I feel like he's going to get his defense back to where it needs to be because I feel like it's been kind of teetering the past couple of years due to some injuries and stuff like that. But to me, they've been had the team to win the Super Bowl. They've just come up short in the playoffs. Lamar Jackson has not come to play in the playoffs. Point blank, period. The MVP caliber guy we see in the regular season, we have not seen him at one point in time in the playoffs. That's the biggest difference. Lamar Jackson, that MVP player we see in the regular season, we haven't seen him not once in the playoffs. Not once. That's the thing that's held this team back. They have a 10 out of 10 on the pressure meter. They're going to be like another team on this list to where as long as they're in their prime and they're healthy, the pressure's on to win Super Bowl or at least get there. The Ravens have had the team to do that. Getting into our next team, Philadelphia Eagles. I have them at a 3 out of 10. This might be low for the Eagles, but to me, we got to take the Eagles at face value. The Eagles are a team that recently won a Super Bowl, one of the best defenses in the league, still a top caliber talent-wise offensively. They just can't really put it all together due to the OC play. Or is it a Jalen Hurts or A.J. Brown thing? That's up for you guys to decide. But for me, going into the year, I don't have this crazy pressure on the Eagles. I think they're one of the most slept-on teams in the NFC. Everybody's talking about the Rams or the Seahawks or the Bears or the Lions or something like that. The Eagles are the third. Right now, I think the Eagles are the third most talented team in the NFC. You could argue them above Seattle going into the year because Seattle's lost Kenneth Walker, lost some pieces defensively. It's where you could say the Eagles are too. There's an argument there. Do they have question marks about the offensive consistency? Yes, but their O-line was hurt all last year. And due to the workload that Saquon Barkley did have, there was going to be some regression. There was always going to be regression with the workload he had in that historic season. But when I'm looking at the Eagles, a lot of people in the media and just the Philly fan base is going to put a ton of pressure on this team. So I'm like, this team just won a Super Bowl not too long ago. I think they're going to be just fine. They're going to be one of the most dominant regular season teams in the league this year. I have them at 3 out of 10 on pressure. Now, did I like how they lost to the 49ers last year? No, but this team had a bunch of drama throughout the season. Who knows if the A.J. Brown trade, getting him out of the building, is going to help make the roster less kind of loud and kind of take the drama out of it? Maybe. Who knows? We got to see what happens. But this team, I feel like he's going to get back to playing a style of football that they are comfortable playing and is very dominant and hard to beat. And I think they're a 3 out of 10 going into the year when a lot of people I feel like are going to have the Eagles at an 8 out of 10 in terms of how much pressure they have on them going into the year. Next team up, same conversation as the Ravens. Buffalo, 10 out of 10 on the pressure scale. As long as you have Josh Allen in his prime, I'm going to expect you guys to make a push for the Super Bowl. You're always pushing for the Super Bowl when you have a quarterback of Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson's talent. Well, I'm looking at Josh Allen and the Bills. Same thing with the Ravens. Bane had the teams to do it. Do I think the Bills have the defensive talent that the Ravens do? No, I don't think they're on the same level in terms of just talent defensively. But they've been no slouches on defense. They've had a fine defense throughout the seasons with Josh Allen. But it's another thing where, yes, do I believe Josh Allen has played better than Lamar Jackson come playoff time in bigger moments and bigger spots? Yes, but it's also Josh Allen also just hasn't got it done either. So when I'm comparing both these teams in the AFC in a year where the Ravens unfortunately didn't make it due to some Steeler magic or whatever you want to call it in the last game of the regular season, to where the Bills had the runway. No Baltimore, no Cincinnati, no Kansas City, and they still didn't get it done. I know Denver was great. Bo Nix played a hell of a game, and that defense is amazing. But the amount of mistakes Josh Allen had in that game is just head-scratching. The picks, the turnovers. In a game where, like, I feel like they would have went and beat the Patriots to go to the Super Bowl in that bad weather game that just screams like a Buffalo game that they win to go. But it's crazy to me that all the mistakes they had with the path they had this year, had a tough game against Jacksonville, and Jacksonville's an underrated team. Broncos not going to take anything away from them. But for a team in the Buffalo Bills that's been knocking on the door for years now, to see no KC, no Baltimore, no Cincinnati in your way, to come up short and not even make it to the championship game is a big-time disappointment. And watching that game over again, Josh Allen had way too many mistakes in that game. They could have put that game away multiple times, but they kept leaving the door open with bad turnovers throughout the game, kept leaving the door open, and then Bo Nix just proved he's a top-end quarterback in this league, or going to be a top-end quarterback in this league as well. But the Buffalo Bills, to me, 10 out of 10 on the pressure scale going into the year. Kansas City, I'm going to give them a 5 out of 10. A little bit lower on this list compared to where they could possibly be. This is obviously a dynasty team, kind of getting into the couple years after the kind of dynasty talks are a little bit quieter now, to where they're kind of rebuilding, retooling, figuring out this new identity with this team. Lost a ton defensively, but they have addressed the one hole they had offensively in the run game. Bringing in Kenneth Walker is a big-time addition. I'm not the craziest of their receiver room, but Rashee Rice has talent. Xavier Worthy has talent. Still have Travis Kelce. But Kenneth Walker solving that run game is the biggest thing for this team. And I think them being able to figure that question out as a team is going to help open up the offense a ton, which I think Mahomes coming off of an injury, you don't want to rely on Mahomes, as great of a player as he is, to come out here and sling the ball across the field 40 times a game, right? Having a workhorse in Kenneth Walker, Super Bowl MVP, by the way, give him the ball. I want Kenneth Walker to be getting 15 to 25 touches a game. Great receiving back, great workhorse back, 3-down back. I expect Kansas City to really use that run game behind a really good offensive line with Andy Reid. Spags doesn't have the same talent that they have had in the past couple of years on the defensive side, but I have faith in him being able to scheme things up and to still be a solid unit on the defensive side of the ball. But I'm not looking at KC going into the year as a Super Bowl contender. I think they're a touch below some of the elite teams that I believe in the AFC, just because I think defensively they've lost a lot. Offensively, they still got some question marks of just putting it all together, to where I'm like, okay, if Kansas City, this is more of like a finding our identity kind of year. Let's see what we have. We're kind of rebuild, retool Mahomes off the injury. This kind of like not more of a gap year, but more of like we need to figure out what we are before we can say we're in that elite category of teams going into this season. So I got the Kansas City Chiefs out of 5 out of 10 on my pressure scale. Los Angeles Rams, 10 out of 10, easy. Going to have the best roster on paper going into the year. Obviously, an all-in team now. Like a couple years ago when they didn't win the Super Bowl, they were all in that situation as well. Bringing in the decoy, bringing in the MVP of the league, Myles Garrett, and Matthew Stafford, to where I'm like, have Puka Nacua, top 5 receiver in the sport. Have Devontae Adams, one of the best number 2s in the sport. It's one of the best coaches in the league, Sean McVay. Starts to the defense. Not only did you add Myles Garrett, you solved your secondary problems with McDuffie as well, to where I'm like, man, what's the hole in this team? You have 2 really good backs in that backfield, and Kyren Williams, Blake Corum. What's the hole on this team? Well, I'm looking at this team and how all in they are. The pressure has to be a 10 out of 10. It might be an 11 out of 10. So I'm looking at this team, barring any injury to Matthew Stafford. Anything but the Super Bowl will be a disappointment for this Rams team. Easy 10 out of 10 for me on the pressure scale. Seattle Seahawks, 1 out of 10. Coming off the Super Bowl, they lost a lot, losing Kenneth Walker. Charbonnet's going into the year hurt. You're relying on a rookie and Price to kind of be that lead back till you get Charbonnet back. Lost a little bit defensively, but the team's coming off winning a Super Bowl. I still think they're going to be an elite level unit because I believe McDowell defensively has a coach. And I think Sam Darnold has the ability. I know they were a run-heavy team last year, but I think Sam Darnold has the ability to be able to pass more. I think this team is going into the year playing with supreme confidence in a division where they're playing the Los Angeles Rams and the 49ers, one of the toughest divisions in football. I still have faith in the Seattle Seahawks team to be an elite level team, and I'm not going to be crazy shocked if they're back at the championship game playing to go to the Super Bowl again out of the NFC. I still have them at a 1 out of 10 on the pressure scale, though, coming off the Super Bowl. Got to give them kind of that grace year to kind of rebuild and get everything back. But 1 out of 10 on the pressure scale. Next team, Dallas Cowboys, 8 out of 10. Kind of like the Bengals, to where I'm like, you have had this elite level offense. I believe Dak Prescott is a good enough quarterback to win the Super Bowl. So I'm like, the defense has held you back, right? Obviously. Get off the Micah Parsons thing, and even with Micah, you didn't have the greatest all-around defense in the world. But made a big-time addition adding Quentin Williams. Looking at the defense, I love the draft pick in Caleb Downs. I think he's somebody that can definitely plug some holes in that secondary as a player. Defensively, they should be much more well-rounded. They're kind of the same conversation as talking about the Bengals of like these elite level offenses, top 5 level offenses when healthy. So I'm like, man, defensively, if they can just put it all together and be middle of the pack, the offense can carry them there. Kind of the same conversation I had with the Bengals, just a little bit less of some pressure because I think the Bengals are just like, Joe Burrow might not be the quarterback there long term. I can say confidently that Dak Prescott's going to be probably finish his career as a Cowboy, realistically. Joe Burrow, I don't know. One season goes awry, I think they could be out on Zach Taylor, out on Joe Burrow. Dallas, I think, is still in a world of like their pressure of like a 7 or an 8 going into the season. Like, obviously, I think they have the potential to win the Super, like go and make a run to the Super Bowl because I think they're that talented offensively. Gotta see them put it together defensively. But I think they don't have as much pressure on them as kind of a team in comparison to the Bengals, if that makes sense. Getting into the next team, Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions, right? I got them at a 9 out of 10. Another top caliber offensive unit. Lackluster kind of defensively the past handful of seasons due to some injuries. Getting Hutchinson another year removed from the injury. But the reason I have them at a 9 out of 10, tough division, offensive firepower, so have everything you need offensively. Competitive division. 6th easiest schedule in the league. 6th. Anything under 11 wins for this team, disappointment. I know you play in a tough division. Kind of got handed by the division last year. But for this team to be loaded offensively, I still think their defense is a little bit better than I'm probably giving it credit for. Hutchinson another year removed from that injury. But not the deepest and most talented unit defensively. But when I'm looking at this Detroit Lions team playing the 6th easiest schedule in all of football, I know you're in a tough division. 11 wins. They should be the favorite to win the division based on their schedule and the talent they do have on that team. But I got the Detroit Lions at 9 out of 10. Has the window closed on this team? I'm not sure. I'd have to see the defense really take some strides this season because offensively, I think Jared Goff's a good enough quarterback. Been to the Super Bowl before. I think he's good enough to get them there again. But defensively, I just feel like they're not that crazy of a unit and good enough of a unit But with the strength of schedule, anything under 11 wins for the Detroit Lions counted as a disappointment. They should be the favorite to win this division going into the year. Next team up, Chicago Bears. I got them at a 4 out of 10. I think when you're looking at all the numbers and just the metrics and everything else like that, they're just due for some regression. I think defensively, they're kind of okay. I'm not going to say they're an elite unit or a good unit. I think they're about middle of the pack. They were really relying on the turnover margin last season. But I'm looking at this Bears team they're going to be really good offensively. Caleb Williams has really found himself. And I'm going in with a 4 out of 10 because going into the last year, all the questions they've had over the past handful of seasons got answered. Caleb Williams is obviously the quarterback of the future. Ben Johnson has a head coaching hire. Weapons-wise, I believe in Rome Odunze. Kind of got banged up to his back end of last year. You have a great running attack, good O-line. I'm excited about a Luther Burden breakout. You have a top-tier offensive tight end in the league. So I'm like, looking at this, offensively, you have all the pieces and a great offensive scheme head coach. With the quarterback, young quarterback still ascending, can still get better about some easy gimme stuff, but has big playability. And Caleb Williams is already one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. But I think defensively, I still have a ton of question marks about this team. I still think they could make a big move at a pass rusher, maybe a Max Crosby or something like that. But going into the year, 4 out of 10, I just think there's too many things for them to kind of have some regression, talking about the turnover margin, looking at their strength of schedule, having one of the most loaded, talented schedules in the league this year, with a ton of great games, being in a tough division already. I think there could be some regression. Not saying the Chicago Bears are going to be a bottom feeder team in the league, but if they missed the playoffs, I'm not going to be like crazy shocked because what I took from last season saw some regression with a tough schedule, some regression on the turnover margin defensively that we've seen happen for teams in the past handful of seasons. To where I'm like, Chicago, I'm not really crazy worried about their future if they don't make the playoffs this year or something like that. They have a great, bright future over there in Chicago. Next team up, New England Patriots. I'm going to go 7 out of 10. After making it to the Super Bowl with kind of no expectations are going to be on this year. In a division where it's really you and Buffalo to win the division, the Dolphins and the Jets are in rebuilding situations, so where they're in a lighter, easier division. Love the addition of A.J. Brown, pairing him up with Vrabel. But this is a team I'm going to give a 7 out of 10 because I think they're just having more expectations. You're not going to be able to sneak up on a lot of teams. They were never favored to go to the Super Bowl at any point, really. But the fact that they got there and it was kind of like a Seahawks-Patriots Super Bowl, which nobody thought was going to happen, is crazy enough. But I think the Patriots going into the year, yes, they did just make the Super Bowl, but with some expectations. You can say what you want about kind of their run to the Super Bowl. Might not be the craziest because you had played an injured Bo Nix. The Texas offense was destroyed. Terrible O-line, no Nico Collins. And the Chargers, hurt team, no offensive line at all, the worst rated offensive line in the league for the Chargers. So they had their kind of way and then kind of showed in the Super Bowl a little bit, playing a team that was Super Bowl caliber. The Patriots didn't have the craziest run to the Super Bowl, but going into another year with Drake May and Vrabel, having A.J. Brown added to the addition, staying with Romeo Doubs, where I'm like, young, talented team, just going into the year with some more expectations to where they're not going to be able to sneak up on the league. Obviously, having a harder schedule as well is also going to put things into perspective. But I think the Patriots are going into the season with 7 out of 10, kind of grouping them with the Bears of like their future set, young quarterback, great coach pairing, talent all around the roster. Going forward, both these teams are going to be fine whether they make the playoffs next year or not. That's why I kind of have them in the same group. But I think I look at the Bears having a little bit more wiggle room. I'm more of a believer in Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, than Vrabel, Drake May going forward. That's just a me thing. But I think they're still kind of in the same conversation, same grouping. But that is all I have for kind of these NFL teams and where I have them on the pressure scale going into this upcoming NFL season, about a month out. But let me know down in the comments below what you guys think I got right, wrong about these kind of pressure rankings going into the season. But that is all I have for this episode of the Barrel Talk Podcast. Obviously, tune in to future episodes.